Great. Um, well, thank you so much. I realize this is kind of a late evening event for you, and for me, it's very early morning, but we figured out a time that everybody can be available. So thank you so much. Um, would you mind introducing your team or having them introduce themselves, sir? And we will introduce ourselves very quickly, and then we'll start our orientation.
Sure, Larry, we can start with the introduction. First of all, I will introduce myself. My name is Malkeet Singh. I am the Assistant Manager for Client Relations team for the USA clients. And I have been in this industry since 8 years, like almost 8+ years now. And yeah, it's good to be part of this organization.
Okay, and you're located in India, but what city?
I'm located in Nagpur, which is at the center of India, the most central
Okay,
part of India. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else, like Vidhi or anyone, can you please introduce yourself also?
Hi everyone, myself Vidhi. I am also an assistant manager with the GB. I have a team of seven who basically submit applications to universities. And my job is to chasing an offer, getting an I-20, getting the student till the visa process. So basically, the conversion part is what we do. And I also take care of all our international branches. We have branches in Vietnam, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, LATAM. All these are our branches. So I also look after them. And yes, I'm very happy to be a part of this training and hoping to have all the queries answered. Thank you so much.
Great. Do you travel to some of those places, VD, or is that more what you do virtually?
So I do travel whenever needed. If the team needs training or if there's any session that needs to be taken care of, we do travel.
Okay. Um, if that's the LEAP side, then why don't we introduce our side of the team? My name is Larry Linneman, and I'm the Special Assistant to the President for International Affairs. I'm the one who met with one of your leaders in Berlin about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and kind of started this process. So you can blame me for having to stay up late tonight to have our meeting. Laura, why don't you go next?
You bet. So my name is Lara Mann, and I'm the Vice President of Enrollment at Anderson University. So that means that I get to work with a team of about 16 people in the Office of Admission. And we also have the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships is also under me as well. I'm lucky because you're going to meet Andrew and Sheba here in a minute, and they're on my team, and they do amazing work. So it's so nice to be here, and thank you so much for staying up a little bit in the office to talk with us. We're looking forward to it. Thank you. Andrew, you want to go? Yes.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Andrew Gilbert, and I'm the Director of Adult, Graduate, and International Admissions. It's great to meet both of you. It's great to be part of this team. And so I've been in higher ed for 24 years. Worked with international students throughout my career at different levels. So I'm kind of the main point of contact. I'll be working with the students as they come through. Yeah, it's great to be here with you.
Sheba, you want to tell?
You got to unmute yourself.
I think Sheba's looking for the mute button, I think.
We're not working.
Okay.
I will introduce Sheba. Sheba's amazing. Sheba is the person who will do all the operations and all the kind of the detailed work of, making sure people's documents get where they're supposed to go, and that kind of detailed work. So we're really happy to have Sheba on our team.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I think what I'll do is I'll start out, if I can share my screen here with all of you. So let me see if we can get that working here. Okay, can you see that screen?
I can.
All
Yes.
right. I'm going to just hit a few highlights about the school. Not a lot, because our primary focus today is going to be on the orientation and getting through the application process. But I realized that you really didn't have any contact with us in the initial meeting. So you're kind of starting from ground zero unless you looked us up on the web. And so I'm going to make just a couple quick comments here. And Laura, let me know if these slides don't advance when I
You bet. I will.
go through these. Is that moving
Yep.
over? Okay,
Yep.
great. Anderson University is over 100 years old, and for an American history, that's a long time. For some Indians, that might be a very short window in time. You have such a old civilization. It was started in 1911. What's significant about that? Sometimes I like to think about what was happening back at that time. That was 8 years after the very first plane flight in the world. The Wright brothers started in 1903, and this was 3 years before World War I began. So that gives you some idea how old this university really is. There are 60 undergraduate majors at the university, or 60 plus. We're always adding and subtracting. So I don't care when I say this, it's probably not exactly right, but it's very close. And we're a full university campus. So sometimes I know you run into schools that are more business entities, but this has a beautiful campus and 20 sports. We don't have cricket yet, but if we get enough Indian students, I'm sure we could find a way to set up a club for cricket, because I know that's a very serious sport for all of you. We're located in the heart of the US. Most Indian students know Los Angeles, they know New York, maybe Texas, but we're in the Midwest, and this is a very safe area. One of the most important things from a Indian student point of view is it's also affordable. It's a very affordable part of our country. In fact, some of the prices are literally half of what they are in other parts of the US. The university is just starting to develop its relationships with India. And so you won't find a large number of Indian students yet, but I predict by this time next year, we will have a wonderful group of students from India. I've had a relationship with India for maybe 12 years and just found the Indian students delightful to work with. And when I say India, I realize you're representing Sri Lanka and many other countries. So I'm saying that because of where you're located, but we welcome students from all of those countries. Some of the most interesting programs and key programs for students from your region of the world, I find, are computer science, business. We have multiple majors in business, cybersecurity, engineering, and sometimes nursing. And by the way, either one of you can stop me anywhere along the way here if you have a question that you want us to answer. this is just a very quick dollar amount. We could break this down a little bit more later, but the undergraduate full-time tuition is approximately $37,600. On-campus housing for 9 months is about $7,200. That varies depending on the package that you have and what room you're in. And then the on-campus meal plan, this is one of the meal plans, there are several, is about $5,500. Now, before you look too long at that, because those numbers I'm sure are very high from an Indian standpoint, this is the scholarship program. And this is very important because these numbers subtract directly off the tuition price that I just showed you on the prior screen. We convert the GPA to a 4.0 scale, and then based upon that, depending on where you are, you get a significant scholarship. These are yearly scholarships. So for example, if you had a 3.5 GPA, you would receive $20,000 a year off of your tuition. Now, that $20,000 a year continues provided the student keeps a good GPA. So really what we're saying here is we're not giving them a $20,000 scholarship, we're giving them an $80,000 scholarship over 4 years. So that's a significant discount that's available to all of our international undergraduate students based on their GPA. Now, Laura, I think you have some other scholarships that you might want to share with them as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that this team knew that we really are so excited. We've had international students in our honors program at Anderson, which is a group of students, of high achievers, who get to explore academic offerings in unique and different ways. So if a student has a 3.75 or higher, they're welcome to apply for the honors program, it's just a very short application and then a virtual interview or virtual conversation with one of our honors faculty. And then that's an additional $2,500 that stacks on top of this scholarship, or of these already existing scholarships. So I wanted to make sure you knew that we really feel like international students make our honors program richer, and really encourage international students to apply.
Why don't I stop here for just a second, see if anybody has any questions? All right. The question always comes up about English requirements, and for students who are not studying in English, the TOEFL would be 78, the IELTS 60, and we do offer the Duolingo, which is 105. Those scores are both for grad and undergraduate students, so it's the same score. What I find, however, is at least in the Indian market, I'm not sure about some of your other markets, but in the Indian market, most students study in English. So if you present to us either letter from the school that says they studied in English, or sometimes it's on their transcripts, it says they have studied in English, then we will waive the English requirement, which will save them time and money. And I would say 90% of our Indian students qualify in that category. Moving on to grad programs here. These numbers are a little bit different because they represent a little different process for us. We have purposefully lowered the tuition, and so as a result, we don't offer scholarships at this level, but the MBA tuition, Laura, I did run this by Lonnie last night, so it is legit. Okay. Is $21,420. That is substantially lower than the undergrad program before scholarships when you look at it. This is for the whole program, and there are two ways that you can do this program. You can do it in what we call a 10-month concentrated program, or you can spread it out over 2 years. Most of my Indian students say, I want to get at this, I want to get into the job market. They're motivated, and so they go the 10-month route. But we occasionally have Indian students who say, I don't mind staying in the US, and maybe mom and dad are paying the tuition, and so I'm going to do the 2-year track. That's also possible. Either way, the tuition cost is the same. With the DBA, we have, and again, I ran this number by our dean. We have a 3-year program for a Doctor of Business Administration, and that is $45,150 total. So actually, that's only about $15,000 a year. And so that's a good value for a student who already has a master's degree. The entry for this is generally having an MBA before they start, but it could be a master's degree in a related field. Now, here's where it gets, I think, very interesting. And to me, of the slides I'm going to show you today, I find this one to be the most compelling. There are several areas you could major in your MBA. We recommend for international students that they strongly consider business analytics. Are you familiar with STEM and OPT? You can just, yeah, you nodded your head. If you this qualifies for STEM, and therefore a student that takes this program will get 3 years of OPT rather than 1 year of OPT. That's very significant for our international students. As an employer, I can also tell you, I've hired students with 1 year OPT, and we love to have them, but often it takes 6 months for them to learn their skill. And so they only have about 6 months more to work for me before they go back to their home country. However, with a 3-year OPT, now you get the interest of the employer, because after 3 months or 6 months of learning, we still have them for at least 2.5 years to work, which is often about the amount of time that many people work in their first job anyhow in the US. So employers love having graduates in the 3-year OPT track, and often will continue to employ them even afterwards. So I did a kind of a calculation here for you. Assuming that the tuition is $21,420 for the whole program, the room, if they were staying in a 1-room apartment, and again, this is an on-campus provision, is $7,000. The food we estimate to be about $3,816. We find that Indian students can eat cheaper than that because they love to cook their own food. They will often get together and eat after their class in the evening. And so that price actually might be a little bit high. A fee, we come up with an estimated total of something around $32,476. The annual salary in business analytics, starting out right now in the Indiana area, is about $60,000 US. That's a great salary in the US. So if you multiply that by 3 years, your pre-tax income is about $180,000 US. Let's take off the cost of the MBA, assuming that maybe the student has to take out a loan, which is very common in India. They can pay that back. Assuming that they live modestly, you can live for $1,000 a month as a single individual in the US. Now, that's not buying a new car, and some of the things that many students like to do when they get to the US. But let's assume that they don't. Their net gross income before taxes is something over $100,000 US. So what do they get for this? They get an MBA fully paid. They get 3 years international work experience, and they have money in their pocket. This we find to be very attractive to our international students. And my final slide here, if you want to take a screenshot of this, is if you're interested in going directly to these areas on our website, you can simply take a photo shot of these and it will take you directly to those. I know sometimes when agents are first trying to find things, it gets a little bit confusing on the web. And let me point out one other item here. If you go to where it says agent admissions up on the upper right-hand corner of that picture, and you take a photo shot of that, if you enter that way for admission to the MBA program, it will waive the admissions fee, which, Laura, is that a $50 fee now? Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's a good thing for agents to be able to go directly. And those are only for people that we've signed agreements with. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to transfer off to, I think, Andrew, are you next? Who's going to talk to you a little bit about the actual admission process. But again, I'll stop there and let you ask any questions that you have. All right, Andrew, take over. Let me give you the screen.
Right. Let me. Give me a second here. All right. Does that look right? Great. Okay, so these are the requirements just for the MBA grad program. So we just kept on 2 different slide decks for this presentation, and hopefully that will just, there's a lot of similarities between the MBA and undergrad, but for our purposes, we thought we would start with just keeping them in 2 different processes to hopefully make that clear. Again, I'm the kind of the main admissions contact for the applicants, and you can always reach out to me as agents as well. So my personal email is afgilbert@anderson.edu, and you can always reach me there. And then I'll share another email address where we actually want students to be sending their documents. So just briefly, the required documents for admission, I think it's pretty streamlined for international admission. What Larry was sharing on his last slide with the QR codes, I definitely recommend that you share that online application with the applicants. If they find, if you're working with a student and you use the regular online application link, and the $50 application fee does show up, I can always waive it. That's not an issue. It's just much more streamlined if you give them that specific link. We ask for a resume, or if the student has a LinkedIn account, they can also just submit a LinkedIn address, and then we can see their profile there. We just want to see their background, what kind of work they've been doing. Just gives us a little bit of information on who they are. There's one recommendation form, pretty simple. And I'm sorry, Laura, is there a specific form that we have them fill out, or Larry, for the MBA students for international?
I think what I've seen is a variety of just letters that have been written by a variety of people. So I think we accept almost any form.
Okay, perfect. So just so you're aware, there is a recommendation form online. If the student uses it, that's great, but they're not required to use it. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're looking for a bachelor's degree with a kind of a U.S. equivalency of an accredited degree with a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 on a, as Larry was saying, a 4.0 scale. We asked the student can send an, well, I'll get to that in a second. And then the English proficiency, as Larry was mentioning, it's the same for our graduate and undergrad. But as Larry mentioned, if we see verification that they studied in English, then the English proficiency is waived. So I know in India, that's a majority of the students, but depending if they're coming from other areas of the world that you're recruiting from, then we definitely are going to be looking for that verification. And then as part of the requirements, we also just need a copy of the passport profile photo page. I've seen some things come through. Sometimes they're not clear. So I would just request that it's a very clear copy since that's essential. So these are the items that we kind of need up front to make an admissions decision. And specifically going to transcripts, students should send an unofficial transcript for transcript evaluation. That could be sent simultaneously to international@anderson.edu. And then this is Larry's email address so that he's in the loop. What we do first, and Laura, you can correct me here, but what we do first is we have some expertise in the department to do transcript evaluation. But if we mostly it revolves around India, but if we cannot figure out the evaluation, then we'll have students, we'll direct them to an evaluation agency, and we use WES and ECE are the primary companies that we use. But I would say starting with an unofficial copy of the transcript emailed will be the first step. And then we don't require that the students send us official transcripts because we know how much work that is until they know that they've gone through the process, they've been accepted, they're approved for a visa, and they're on their way to campus. So we don't require the official until the very end. Any questions about anything yet? Okay. Just to clarify, all documents must be received before we'll make an admissions decision. And again, applicants and agents can send those documents to international@anderson.edu. Our goal is, because we understand time differences around the world, how important it is to respond quickly and provide great service. But our goal is to respond to agents and applicants within 48 hours. And excluding weekends. So just wanted to make you aware of that. If it's at the end of the day and we're trying to wrap up other things for students, then it's probably going to have to go the next day, just so you're aware. Acceptance next steps. After we receive all the required application materials, then we will offer an admission if they meet the minimum requirements. So we'll notify them of the admissions decision by email. And then what I will do is I will follow up and with some more details about submitting an affidavit of support and outlining the bank statement requirements. And then as soon as the bank statement is received along with the required affidavit of support, then I'll work with Sheba on the operations team, and then we'll begin to work on the I-20 process and send that out. And then from there,
Andrew, just a moment. If you go back to the slide just a second, I think the process, and Sheba may want to jump in here for a second. I think the process there is that we do get the bank statement before we make the admission decision. Do you follow what I'm saying? we're gathering all of that first.
Well, first.
Then we issue the admission decision.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So I'll make that change for the next presentation. So just briefly, with the affidavit of support, there's a specific form that's on our website. We can make sure that we get it to you. But basically what we're asking is that applicants provide the proof of financial resources with the bank statement showing funds to cover the minimum cost of the year. So that goes back to what Larry was providing, which I believe for the tuition was 21,420, and then the fees on top of that. So up front, we're just needing to see that there is the ability to pay that. If, for example, a student, I'm working with some students right now who because of the time frame of when they applied, they aren't going to be able to. Sorry, this is buggy. The students aren't going to be able to get their visa appointment in time to come to the States. So what we do is if the affidavit of support and bank statements are good for 6 months. So just that sometimes we have to go back to the students to say, hey, we just needed an updated affidavit of support and bank statement. And really what we're looking for is just making sure that the support is equal or greater than the annual cost of attendance. Any questions about that? When it comes to the visa, then when we get to the point where we can issue the I-20, then we'll be emailing that out. And so then it's at the point that the student should reach out to the U.S. consulate about a visa appointment. We just ask that the agents and the students keep me updated regularly about the progress of the visa appointment, because we know it's different in all locations. And so we just ask for a good communication, just updates. Upon visa approval, then we ask for the students to submit a deposit of $200. So we don't ask for that until they're like, yes, I'm approved to study in the US. And then we just ask for their commitment, because we understand that sometimes they're applying to a couple of different colleges and universities. And so this is our way to know that they're committed to Anderson University. We ask that students don't make any travel plans or purchase their tickets until they receive the visa. So that's pretty essential that we just keep open communication, especially if we are getting close to the start of the semester. We don't want there to be any disappointment. And then we just ask that the agent keeps us updated about the students' flight plans, just so that we're prepared, because we have a Center for Intercultural Engagement. And I just want to make sure that we have the right people who want to be picked up from the airport, that we're arranging that, and that everyone's successfully picked up and connected with the Center for Intercultural Engagement.
Andrew, can I jump in there for just a second? One of the problems that we often run into, and maybe you have the same problem, is once we issue that I-20, sometimes the student disappears on us. We have a terrible time staying in contact at that point. And we've even had students show up at the airport and didn't notify us that they were coming. They get stuck in immigration. It creates a lot of complications. We don't have housing for them. So one of the things that we would ask from you is your support once we get them to that point of the successful visa interview, to stay in touch with us. And I think that's part of the reason also for that non-refundable $200 deposit is we want you to get paid, and we want to be paid by way of them enrolling for all this hard work.
I know that was a lot, any questions about the MBA process before I hand it off to Laura?
I have a question actually regarding the application process. So, will he be in the application?
Yeah.
Is there a question in the application form where it says, are you working with an agent? How do we tag LeapGB?
Uh, um, what will happen, I believe, is is there one in the admission file? If not, we track it also by the process of you. We assume that you're likely going to be involved in that initial contact. Is that true with GB?
Yes, so we guide the students from the start till the end.
Right. So what we've had with most of our agents is they've initially contacted us with the name of the student that they're working with. But if for any reason a student slips into the system and has not identified themselves or connected themselves with you, at the end of the process, we ask for you to send us an invoice with the list of all the students that came to our school. And if you list them there, we will honor that and pay you for them.
All right.
And Andrew, what about the unofficial transcripts? Do they need to be sent by student, or the institution will send it to the given email addresses?
The transcripts can be done a couple different ways. You can have them sent, we consider it official if the school sends the transcript to us directly. That would be one way to give us official transcripts. The second way is the student could bring a copy, or you could mail us a copy in a sealed envelope with the signature or something on the back from the school. So we'll take the original either way. But for the purposes of calculating the GPA, all we need there is a copy of the transcript or the mark sheets. Okay?
Yeah. And Larry, as you said, we need financial documents to be sent along with the application. So it is a mandatory step, or we can send the financial later also.
The financial aid documents can be sent all, you can send us an electronic packet if you want, that would have the official transcripts, the recommendation letter, the bank statement, and we will give you a copy of this affidavit of support. That document is our own original document, but of course the bank statement needs to be an official, statement from the bank. I'm sure you do this all the time, so you probably know the process better than we do.
Yeah, but it is mandatory to submit it along with the application, or we can submit after getting the admission, like admit, like that.
You can send it either way, but we're going to hold the application, the decision of whether or not to admit the student until we see the bank statement.
And are the decisions available on the portal, or the decision goes to the email only?
It goes out through an email, and I think Sheba, you're involved in that process, if I remember correctly. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yes, once you're admitted and the I-20 is issued, we will send a copy to your agent as well as directly to the student. And there also, the third option for the official transcript is you can upload the unofficial for your decision, and then also you can bring your official in a sealed envelope once you come to campus. We do give you a small time frame to make that available to us, but a lot of times students will bring their official in a sealed envelope to campus and give to our registrar's office.
Thank you, Shiva.
Yep.
And how many backlogs or reattempts are considered for the MBA program?
You know, we have not set a number. I've seen 10 or 12 backlogs for the same course before. I think the way we're going to handle that is it's partially based on how the other grades go, if you understand what I mean. So let's say the student has done very well in all their courses, but they have trouble with one course and they keep taking that one course. We're going to look at that course and say, see, is that a critical course to our MBA program? If it isn't, we're not going to pay too much attention to the backlogs as long as the student graduates and meets our GPA. However, if they're backlogging in lots and lots of courses, that's going to be a factor that we're going to look at along with the GPA. So I'm sorry, I don't have a specific number there, but I think you get the idea of how we handle it.
Got
All
it.
right,
And
Laura.
what
Oh,
and
go
what
ahead.
about the three years degree acceptable? Like, are the degrees which are like, no, 3 years bachelor's degree? There are many degrees in India which are 3 years degree.
Yeah,
So are they acceptable?
as long as they've completed the degree and it's a reputable degree from an accredited institution, we will consider a 3-year degree.
Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, Laura?
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm trying to get it. I'm going to go ahead and start. Let me know if these are not forwarding. But I wanted to chat a little bit about undergraduate admission requirements specifically. So Andrew talked about MBA, but I need to talk a little bit about the undergraduate requirements. We have tried to streamline these to make it as easy as possible for folks to apply. They will need to submit an online application, a high school transcript with a GPA of 2.5 or higher. And again, this can be unofficial as we start out. And then if they decide to come, we will need the official. Copy of passport profile photo page, English proficiency test, the same policy that we have for the MBA program. If the high school work was done in English, we can waive that requirement. And then we do have a $50 international application fee, but it will be waived for students who work with us through this agency. Very similar to the MBA, we'll ask that you submit transcripts to these 2 email addresses. And then we'll determine the evaluation process once those are received. Usually we are able to evaluate those in-house. And so, but if we can't, we will let you know what happens after that. Similar to MBA, you should expect a turnaround within 48 hours of questions or concerns or issues and that kind of thing. And then for admission into the programs for undergrad, we will notify you of the admission decision. And what happens after, we'll make the GPA on a 4-point scale. And then as Larry showed you in his PowerPoint, we will, once we have that GPA converted to a 4.0 scale, we will determine what the scholarship offering is for the undergraduate students. So for undergrad students, there are scholarships for international students, which we're very excited about. So we'll let you know what that, what the tuition would be for you or for your the person that you're working with, and then we will ask for the affidavit of support, because we want to make sure that the affidavit of support matches the actual amount that the student would need to pay. So if our tuition's $37,000 and a person gets a $20,000 merit scholarship, then we'll subtract out that from the tuition. And if they are in the honors program and we can subtract 2,500 more, then the 15,096 is actually the tuition they would pay. And we know that that's important to be able to use that when you're doing the affidavit of support. And otherwise, the process is similar to the MBA in terms of, issuing the I-20, the visa, making sure we're in good communication between the agents and Andrew in terms of like when that visa appointment is and the result of the visa appointment. And then if the visa is approved, there's a $200 tuition deposit. And then we start talking about exciting things like when should the student come to campus and what does the orientation look like and all that good stuff. So in a lot of ways, it's very similar to the MBA process, but I would actually say it's fewer things to gather when it comes to the actual application process. And then I also wanted to go back to this slide because a lot of our international students are really focusing in on these majors. We have over 60 majors, but business, engineering, cybersecurity, computer science, data science, and nursing are the ones that we really find that international students seem to kind of be attracted to. And so I wanted to highlight those in this presentation because they are overall for international students and domestic students, they are our most popular and biggest majors. And I'm going to stop there and ask if anybody has any questions.
Laura, before they ask questions, would you share when the intakes are? When do we accept students?
Yeah, so our goal is if there's a student who wants to start in January, that we would have the process completed in October. So October, and then they start in January. We do have some flexibility there, but really our goal is to have all that figured out so that we can, again, we just want to make it as smooth as possible for you and for the student and for us. For the fall, we ask that students have everything completed and done by June 15th. So June 15th is when we want to have it all together. And then classes typically start the last week of August each year.
Okay, so your turn to ask us. You asked some questions, some great ones already. You guys know the process. So is there anything it's probably fairly standard to what you do with most other schools. I don't think we're all that different because we're regulated by government compliance in many of these areas. And so we follow the government rules, but you may have some other questions.
Yes, Larry, one question. Are there any specialized requirement for the nursing program?
Is there any special requirement for the nursing program? Is that the
Like
question?
any test, any SAT, any other test
I
which
see.
do they require?
Laura, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So there's technically not any special like test to take for the undergraduate program in nursing. What does need to happen is that when you're in the nursing program, you do need to kind of hit the ground running, and they have a very specific curriculum they want you to take. So your first year, you'd be taking a very specific curriculum, and you are required to get certain grades in that curriculum. So when you're done with your freshman year, then you would apply to nursing based upon how you performed your freshman year.
So there's really it sounds like two-step process, Laura. One would be you take some of your basics, probably some of your science in year one, and then they make the determination in year two about the nursing program.
So when you declare your major, when you come into the school, you declare nursing, but the first year it's really kind of pre-nursing because you're kind of taking that curriculum. Yeah.
Okay, and the financials are not required for the undergrad application. So is that correct?
We want to make, and I want to make sure I understand this, but we want to make sure that the affidavit of support and bank statements reflect the amount that's after you know what the scholarship is. So we will admit you based upon the GPA that we figure out and that kind of thing, and then we'll ask for the affidavit of support so that it reflects, the accurate amount that you would need to pay.
And then after that, Sheba would issue the I-20
Yes.
once we have all of that.
Correct.
And how many times can a student defer his admit? for how many intakes?
I think the answer to that is probably we we will delay the admissions process. Let's say a student does not successfully get through the visa process, they can have that deferred. However, I think a bank statement is only good for about 6 months. And so once you go past some of those deadlines, then we have to start getting information again, if that makes sense. But it's really that kind of thing where we're trying to help the student by deferring to the next term. But they need to let us know that they want to do that. And then we, Sheba, I don't know, there may be something in the process you want to speak to about that.
No, we understand. So if they don't get all their documents processed in time or their visa appointment or whatever, we have had students roll into the next semester, and that's fine. But again, if the document limit of accuracy is requested, like bank statements and in your affidavit of support, then we would just request that again on your checklist, and then we would need that before we could change your I-20 to the proper term that you're reapplying for. But we have no problem with rolling the rest over to the next term.
Larry, do you want me to quickly go through the DBA?
Let's ask them.
Okay.
Do you think there is a market in your area for a Doctor of Business Administration? You think that would be of interest to any of your students? If so, we will go into a little bit of information about that. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up.
Yes, we can have some information about DBA program, because we are getting some traction about the students who have been inquiring about the DBA program. So yeah, information will be a good thing for us.
Great. Okay, Laura.
Okay. So we do have a DBA program, and really it's built for professors or aspiring professors, so that they can be prepared to go out into the teaching world and teach or research. You can kind of get a feel for the concentrations in the DBA program, which are accounting, finance, management, marketing, and sports management. So just as a little bit of information about those concentrations. Kind of went over that a lot. You can kind of see the outcomes of folks who go through our DBA program and kind of what they typically move into. 73% hold assistant professor or higher 6 months after graduation. And then finally, I just wanted to quickly go over the application requirements for the DBA program, which again some of these are very similar to what we've talked about. There's an online application. We will need a transcript evaluation of your graduate coursework, affidavit of support, English proficiency, obviously needing a completed master's degree from an institution that's accredited, and then some of these other things that make it a little bit more detailed when it comes to applying to this program, but wanted to make sure you saw all of those.
And the one distinction I'd point out there toward the end is there is a personal interview that is usually conducted, I think, for that program.
Right here. Okay. Any questions about DBA?
One thing I would mention about the DBA is the business school told me that we have over 200 active faculty around the world, many of them in the US, that are currently teaching out of this program. So it has a rich history of more than 20 years that this program has been in existence. All right, so that's our basic overview. We tried to focus in, as you can tell, on programs we thought would be particularly of interest in your region of the world. Of course, we have many other programs, but we'd like to hear now from you. Is this, do you think these are viable programs? Do you think in our price range, is this something that your agency has an opportunity? Do you think that you will find students that would be of interest in Anderson University based on what we shared today? Just be curious about your feedback.
Sure, Larry, given that the programs, the STEM opportunities and the scholarship also, and the range of programs which are very popular nowadays with Indian students and especially the Asian student, I can say, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and all these. So they look for the programs which you already have, and that too in a feasible range. Like options are very very good, like not very high tuition fees, and support is like quite high provided, very good quality support is provided by Anderson University. So definitely we can assure you to have some good number of students who will apply to Anderson University, and definitely we will try to convert them to attend the Anderson University also.
Good. Tell us how your philosophy when a student comes in, so we have some feel for the number of schools that they're applying to simultaneously. Most Indian students are not just focusing on one school. So tell us how you advise students at GB.
So basically, first of all, we know the student's preferences, what kind of program preferences he or she has, and the location also. So location plus preferences of program plus campus also, the location of the program and the ranking of the university. And finally, then it comes to opportunities like scholarships, and the requirements are also come into play. So in that way, we suggest students like like 6, 7 universities, which are based on the profile, and then majorly student they apply to 3 to 4 universities. Like basically they apply to 3 to 4 universities. Some students are there they can apply to more also, but a general figure is 3 to 4 universities on an average a student applies to to USA.
Okay.
In yeah, and main factor of decision for any student is like getting offer as soon as possible, like a decision on the application.
Right.
So it increases the chances to convert the student for that university. So
Right.
getting offer as soon as possible is the key.
Right. Yeah. Tell us what you do for the students that have been accepted to our university before they go to their visa interview. Because we know, and I'd also like to know, what are your conversion rates like from your organization with the visa process?
So conversion rate, you want to say like how many applications and the visa conversion, like you want that
You know,
ratio?
what's the success rate like once they've set up and they've gotten, I know it's very difficult at times to even get the visa appointment, right? Especially in India. But let's assume now that they've gotten their visa appointment. What kind of conversion rate? What I mean by that is, what is their success rate? What percentage of our students are successful from your organization when they go for the visa interview?
Yes, we do have a specialized visa preparation team who prepares the student with all the visa related questions, how to answer them, everything. So we have seen a success ratio of almost 70 to 75% on an average. I'm saying it can be higher also, but on an average, I have seen 70 to 75% of the visa success.
Okay, that's very high and that's good. So
Yeah.
we're pleased to hear that. Do you have other questions for us, or is there? I think the starting point. If you have some things that you're not clear about after this meeting, probably goes to Andrew Gilbert, and Andrew will be your key contact point. I think you have an email address, but if you don't, Andrew will get that. And I don't have your email address either. I just primarily have your leaders, I guess, email. So I want to make sure we don't have a disconnect here in getting in contact with each other right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've entered my
Andrew, are
email
you?
address.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that there. Is this so? It's USA at GB. What was the last part there?
gbworld.com.
So question, so is this the primary email address that you guys are going to be communicating through? It's sort of like our international at Anderson. Okay.
Yes, this is our US team email, so we generally connect with everyone with this email only.
Okay, great.
Just for curious sake, Malkat, what number of students do you generally send as a whole entity? I know you're a large firm, but how many students do you send to the US a year? Can you give us some idea?
Yeah, the number actually in the like in the past intake, like for the fall, like FY24, it
Right.
was around, I guess, 5,000 odd some number of visas which we sent students.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what kind of number of applications would you estimate we might receive this year from your firm? Do you have any? I mean, that's a hard guess, but do you have any idea?
See, it's a very new tie-up, so definitely we will promote this university as much as we can. But we will need your support, in getting the offers as quickly as possible, because once we get the offers quickly, we can convert the students as soon as possible. So we will need your support in that, because as soon as the application is sent to you, uh, your part comes into play. You need to evaluate the application. You need to send us the offers and all. So that is the main thing only. If we get offers in 2 to 3 days, definitely we are going to convert more and more students for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a really good point that we all need to hear, is that turning these around, and the first offer is often the one that students will go with. So it increases our chances. And one of the biggest challenges we have is sometimes the student thinks they've sent us everything and they haven't. And so we're waiting for documentation, and the student thinks they're waiting on an answer. And so sometimes we get that disconnect. How can we reduce that problem with your firm? How will we work with you so they know that the file is complete and you know that everything's been sent to us and received?
Yeah, so we have a process of sending a follow-up mails for the students weekly. If the application is submitted for any student for Anderson University, for example, we will send a follow-up mail every week for that student, so that we get to know that application is complete or incomplete. If the application is complete, definitely we will be more curious to know the status of the application. If the application is incomplete, then you can tell us which document is incomplete, and we can reach out to the student and get that document completed. So it will be a weekly process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to working with you. And I am also interested in things that we might do that will bring us top of mind to your students and to your agents. So if you see something that you feel like, okay, we could do this a little faster, we could do this a little bit better, we could streamline this, we'd be real curious to know what those areas are. Okay, so don't hesitate to let us know how we can get better with you. I know there'll be a few bumps right at the beginning. It's always that way. You know, you're trying to figure out exactly how our process works. The only thing that is not standard with almost every institution I've worked with is probably our affidavit of support. So, Andrew, probably that's something that we should send to him right away so that he can see the document. And if there's any questions about that you guys need to ask us, then we can answer those for you.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that specific information so you have that, and we can continue to talk about any questions.
All right, very good. I think we're all probably busy, and you'd like to probably go to bed. And you know, you never know, I might go back to bed. It's still early enough here, but we appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with your team. And we will be back in contact, and just let us know what we need to do to make this a very positive experience for everyone. Sheba, anything you want to say in closing? We kind of missed you at the beginning because of the mute issue, but
Right. I just want to say we look forward to working with you guys and we're excited. And I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning. But yeah, it took me a little time to reset my microphone apparently. So
yeah. Well, we're glad you're speaking again and you got your voice back, right? Vidhi or is anyone else there on your team want to say anything before we go?
I don't think so. The team members have any questions for now. Most of them have been cleared by you and your team. Thank you for the amazing presentation. Also, I will request you to send this presentation to us so that like we can promote your university to our team also.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Larry, Andrew, Shiba. Thank you.
Thank Bye-bye. you.